Want me to click the button? You got it.
Yes, I got it.
Awesome. Hey everybody, welcome in. Oh Val, we got the music. You know I
Yes.
love, I love some good Taylor Swift. How's everybody doing? Drop in the chat where you're from. Um, I got Marie here from 4 and a half today, so we're excited for this webinar. We're gonna get started in a couple of minutes. Boom, 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 boom. Val, do you have that music on?
I hear
Yes.
it. I hear the music.
You do. Oh, okay. All right. I can hear it now. What are we listening to? Let me see. Do you know that song, Marie?
I don't.
No. Does anybody know that song? No. No. Well, oh, hey Debbie. Just saw you yesterday. How did you like the AI workshop that we did? Go ahead. If you guys are just getting in here now, we go ahead and put in the chat where you're from. And yes. Oh, hey Yessie, how you doing? Nice to see you, or not see you, but nice to know you're here. Oh, Marie, been a long time. Thanks for coming. Christy, hello from Springfield. Lisa, pleasure. From Washington. I've been to Washington once. I drove through. I wasn't there very long. Sorry about that. I should have stopped in and said hello. Hi, Jesse.
Hi, Jesse.
It's that Mafi. We'll go with Mafi. Oh, good. Awesome. A customer of 4 and a half. I was a customer of 4 and a half as well. Great company, smart people. Not just because Marie's on here. I would say that even behind her back. Boom, boom. All right. Well, we got a bunch of people here already, so maybe we should just get started now. And when other folks come in, then they can come in and catch up. So how does that sound, Marie? You want to do that?
Sure. Let's get rolling.
Fantastic. Let's get rolling. All right. So the only last thing I have to do is I have to make sure that I can hit this share and this slide. And if I can do that, then I might be able to rule the world. Okay.
Ready to rule the world.
Yeah, I think so. Look at that. All right, hold on. Let me get to the beginning. Okay, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Hey, before we jump into the good stuff, I want to introduce someone who's been shaping how property management companies attract and convert owners for over a decade. Marie Tepman is the marketing director at 4 and a half. She's been helping companies show up online and actually turn visibility into real contracts, into real new doors. She also co-hosts the Property Management Show podcast, which I'm sure many of you listen to. Marie, thanks for being here. I know your brain lives in the world of algorithms and owner psychology, which is the perfect combo for today's topic.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this. Um, the challenge was how to distill all that into like a webinar because I don't want to overwhelm anyone. And so today, I really want everyone to come away from this webinar understanding not just the what of like how to get owners online, but like the why behind the best practices. I don't want you just walking away with just like a checklist and just blindly, checking boxes, but understanding like, the reasons why, and then hopefully you get an understanding of, whether it can work for you or not. And so as Jay said, been helping property management companies, gain more visibility online, get more owner leads through marketing for over 10 years. And I know that the hot topic now is AI, which is something that we're going to be covering today. But yeah, before we start talking about that, I do want to caveat that like these AI tools are tools, and tools help humans, and without the humans, they can't really accomplish anything, right? So I want you to keep that in the back of your head throughout their presentation, so as not to lose sight of what AI actually is. So yeah,
Yeah, not yet anyway.
yeah,
You
not
know,
yet anyway. Not
yeah. It's funny. I was watching an interview with one of the higher ups at Amazon, and how they avoided the question of whether their AI implementation is going to reduce their labor force. Like, the ways that they avoided that question was very interesting.
a master class in, being a politician.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I mean, most of you on here, I think we know each other, but I have been in property management for about 20 years now. Um, Full-time coach, consultant, owner of Better Who, and I tell people I've no different than you, just I've been doing it longer, so I've made more mistakes, and I try to help you avoid those. Marie's here, of course, from Four and a Half, co-host of the Property Management Show, and yeah, over 10 years in SEO, content strategy, and digital marketing. Hey, Marie, so you've been in SEO and digital marketing for over a decade. What's changed the most in how property management companies attract owners online?
Yeah, and so I think the biggest change has been this better understanding of the intent. Because I think when I first started, in SEO, in, owner marketing, um, I think it wasn't just in property management, but just the general consensus was like, hey, keywords, that's how you get them, like make sure you put the keywords that they're searching for and then they'll find you. But SEO has changed drastically. um it's now more about intent than the literal keywords, and with that comes a whole host of other stuff, like you know attracting owners. Yes, your website has a big role, but your website shouldn't like exist in isolation. I would say like 10 years ago, just having like a decently looking site and having a blog could be a difference maker. Like, I remember starting a Four and a Half and being amazed, like this stuff works. Like they just write, we just write blogs for them. We post on the website, and like they're getting form fill outs, but like that stuff doesn't work as well anymore. Um, Also because owners are now more complex, right? Like they don't just have like one path to finding information. Like they can find information through different channels, like through videos. Sometimes they even get information from TikTok. It's no
It's
longer like
Yeah,
one
it's
track
so
thing.
easy to obtain information, and as the years go by, it's challenging for any business owner to stay on top of this complex world of SEO, because
Hmm.
you're not marketing experts, right? I mean, you're business owners. And at the same time, I think what you're saying, Marie, is that business landlords and just regular consumers, the way that they digest information has changed over the
Hmm.
years and continues to change. And Google and other other search engines and AI search that we're going to get into,
Yeah.
they stay on top of that, and they want to align our content and the way that we present it with how people are looking to find it,
Yeah,
right?
definitely, right?
Yeah,
I think was it McDonald's that said like if you build it, they will come, or maybe I'm misquoting that. Like it's this thing like I've heard.
that's in the movie Field of Dreams
Oh,
with
okay,
Kevin
okay,
Costner.
okay. See, I'm really bad at reference. Like I remember the quote and bad at citation. Um, so it's like in the past, you build it, they will come. But now it's like you can build it the best way you can, but if it's not in the fashioned in the way that the consumer wants to consume it, and it's not showing to them at a time they're ready to consume it, then they're not going to come. So, so yeah, things have definitely changed.
Absolutely. And the good news is that today we're going to be talking about breaking down these concepts into a simple way to so that you don't have to understand this entire world, but you get the right information that you need, right? So we're going to talk about attracting the right owners, uh, earning the trust of AI and the owners and converting traffic into conversations. But when we talk about attracting the right owners, Marie, what do you feel separates a quality owner lead from a tire kicker? Like, how would a PM company know?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is actually it depends. The reason I say that is because a qualified owner lead is different from property manager to property manager, right? So we literally had this client years ago where they just don't want to manage houses with pools, right? Like their systems are just not built to manage it. They don't want the liability, and they just make more money off of houses that don't have pools. Well, guess what? Owners who are searching for property managers, like end up contacting this company because they're in their area, they have blogs, they look credible. And then everything's going fine until they talk about the property. And then once they find out that, hey, the house has a pool, that's an immediate no for the property management company. And it's not because it was a junk lead. It's not because it was, like the marketing failed or anything. It's just the way their business is structured just is very specific. And so that same lead would have been celebrated in a different property management company, right? That is set up to manage a property with pools. So I would say the nugget here to take away is it really it really should be dependent on who your target client is. So if you don't know who we call it a perfect client, but I've heard like perfect is such a polarizing word. Okay, fine, ideal. Identify who your ideal client is, the kind of owners that fit well with how you run your business, that fit well with your kind of like your philosophy and the level of involvement that you like them to have. And then get clarity on that and then like make sure whoever is answering the phone, whoever is in charge of like onboarding them understands that and you communicate that in your marketing so that if it's something specific like you just want to deal with investors, then make sure your marketing communicates that and then you're able to attract more of those versus, like trying to target everyone and then kind of like wasting your effort when you only really wanted investor. So that's like a long way
Which,
of answering the question. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a great answer. I mean, which is one of the things that I used to do, and I think a lot of people do, when we take on a new coaching or consulting client, we'll ask them who their ideal client is, and we do get a wide net at first.
Mm.
And if you're trying to attract everybody, you're not attracting anybody. Like this is what we found. So it sounds like what you're saying is when you're clear on who you're looking for, make sure
Mhm.
you're communicating that in your marketing as well. So for example, if you don't take on pools or like homes with pools, then in some way you should be communicating that message on your website so that you don't generate those leads.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And again, it's like, I think for that client, what we recommended was, hey, find a competitor who you're kind of frenemies with, and then set up a referral system. So if you do get this lead, you can get something for referring this lead to them because then you look really good, right? Like, hey, owner, like, unfortunately, we're not set up to manage a property with a pool, but we have this property manager, like in the same area that would be happy to take you and, like they're qualified and they're licensed just like us. And you look good to that owner. They may not hire you. I mean, they may not work with you right now, but maybe they have a friend or, a family member who has a property that doesn't have a pool that they might refer to you, right? So, yeah, like think outside the box in terms of how you deal with leads that don't quite fit your ideal client profile as well.
Yeah, I gotcha. Perfect. So, why don't we look at wait, hold on. Is this the right one here? Yeah, why this matters now. There we go. Um, we were talking about zero click search before,
Hmm.
and um, what is zero click search, and how can property management companies still win when people actually never click to their site?
Yeah, it's a really good question, right? So in recent years, Google has moved to a method of providing information wherein nobody has to click on your site, right? So that's why it's zero click. The main thing is that your traffic suffers, but also you're less likely to capture like the lead information because they're not on your website. And most people think of that as like, oh, screw Google. Like, why did they steal, that traffic? But it's like I would say kind of change your mindset, right? Like we cannot control how Google chooses or any of these AI tools, how they decide to process and display information. What we can do is again is like focus on the end user, right? So if you're thinking about the end user, then if you are able to provide the best answer um, to the questions of the owner, if the AI overview or the AI tool is citing your business as kind of a source of the answer, yes, you may not get a form fill right now, but what you are getting is mind share, right? Like the owner is starting to see your, oh, it's starting to, no,
Did you add this?
I did, but like let me give some context before I show that.
Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Mistakes
Um,
will happen in this webinar.
yes. Yes. And so yeah, that really distracted me. But um but yeah, so if you are getting mind share, right? Like the more times your brand shows up when an owner is searching for answers, like in the back of their mind, you're becoming familiar to them. So every time they're exposed to your brand, there's like positive feelings like, hey, they seem to know their stuff. Like they always have the answers to my questions. And we're going to talk about the customer's journey in a little bit of a slide about that. But if you are able to be clear on kind of like what you're able to do for the owner, you are able to um, focus on providing like the best answer that can satisfy their intent, then you're on the right track, right? Like the sales cycle might be longer. It may take them more time to actually decide to consider to hire you, but you you have to um you have to kind of like count your blessings, so to speak, like not for the immediate win, but like how do I say this? It's kind of like magical if you are able to build trust with a client even before they talk to you, right? Because like once they talk to you, they it's like the sales cycle is faster. So
So
think about it like that
are we
way.
talking about similar to, somebody goes online and they search and they see all these Google reviews, and, and these 5-star Google reviews, and maybe there's 2,000 of them, and they're like, wow, this is trust, right? I haven't even talked to this person yet. Or they go on your website and they're reading through, and they're not filling out a form, but they're reading through and they're like, this person gets me. They're talking to me. Like, this is content I need to read because it's going to protect me. Like, all of this is developing that trust even before you get on the phone with them.
Yeah, so I would say like even before that, right? Like when an owner isn't even aware that they need a property management company. Like it's 2 a.m. They had to go fix like a big leak, and they're like, I'm just so tired of this stuff. Like they start Googling stuff like, can I evict a tenant for too many work orders or something like that, right? Like they're asking these questions that are symptoms of like their burnout or their frustration. And guess what? If you have some content that gets cited by these AI overviews, or like one of your blogs about like how hard it is to be a landlord shows up, like they're not gonna call you right now. They're not gonna be
Mhm.
like, oh, that sounds great. Let me go hire this property manager. It's more of like, oh yeah, they understand my pain. And they're gonna forget about you
Yeah.
until something
So
else happens. And then on and on and on and on.
should we talk about your teammate?
Yeah, so like one thing that's on this slide is like fundamentals matter, clarity, proof. And I actually had a funny story about clarity, right? And so
You tell me when to switch to the next slide.
yeah. So I'll tell you. Yeah. So last week at NARPM National, I had teammates who went there. I wasn't able to join, and someone actually came over to the booth saying like, "Hey, someone had a talk last year and they claimed that like SEO is dead." And my coworkers was like, "Oh, that's such a bold statement. Like, who could that be, right?" And then you can go to the next slide, Jay. Turns out that was me. This person attended my March 2024 talk about how SEO is changing in light of, ChatGPT and Google, search generative experience. So like back then in March, like ChatGPT and Google SGE were like in its infancy, like they were about to be rolled out. And like I swear I did not say SEO is dead despite what the picture looks like.
Oh,
I
come
have
on.
video proof. I recorded my talk and I have video proof that I did not say that. What I actually said was it's not impossible to imagine a future where SEO as we know it now will be dead, right? Which in my
Yeah.
head was a dramatic way to say that SEO is changing fast and it's not dying, but it's changing fast, right? It's not going to be the SEO we know. And the reason I wanted to share it today was this is a classic example of how communicating clearly kind of makes or breaks, something. So on the one hand, my initial feeling was like, oh, that attendee just misremembered. Like they should have listened better. They should have taken better notes. But then upon thinking about it more, I realized, well, at the end of the day, it's actually my responsibility as the expert to ensure that my audience correctly understands my message. And I was thinking as I was, going through the slides that this is kind of a cautionary tale for property managers as well, because it's your responsibility to ensure that prospective owners, that the AI, chat bots, and all the algorithm bots correctly understand who you are, where you do business, what your expertise are. And that it's actually less about what sounds good to you and it's more about clearly communicating your message to your target audience, right? So like don't make the same mistake I do. Like you don't
So
want people, yeah.
this is your opportunity to set the record straight, right?
Yes. I want it to be
So
publicly known that I did not make that claim.
so let's talk about what you really wanted to say.
Yeah. So, well, for context, that talk was like 7 months before they even launched like chat GPT search, right? So a lot of it was kind of like preemptive. Like, I think this is where things are going. And that's where things have gone, right? So now AI search is everywhere. There are all these new acronyms that I'm seeing being thrown about, like, you shouldn't focus on SEO. It should be, answer engine optimization. It should be like LLM optimization, all these things. But, this is all just clutter to me. I like to think all of this is still SEO because search engine is still, it's like a tool that you use to search for information. And whether it's on a chatbot, it's Google, it's Bing, like it's still a search engine to me. And, like what a lot of people may not realize is these AI tools also get some of their answers and information by doing queries on like Google and Bing. Like ChatGPT uses Bing, Gemini uses Google. And, like if you're not able to like rank well in traditional search, it's not like you can't expect yourself to like rank well as well in like AI search, right? Because the same trust signals that traditional search uses to identify who is credible, which websites actually have accurate information, the best information, are very similar to what the AI tools use to determine credibility, right? They may have slight variations, but the core is still there. So I want to say that fundamentals still matter. And, like there are other things you can do to make yourself easier to be parsed by the AI chatbots. But if the fundamentals are not there, they're not going to see you anyway.
Yeah,
And
I get
then
that. I'm gonna push us through on slides a little quicker so we get
Yeah.
through everything.
Yeah, sorry about that. And then, I wanted to show this graph because um, when looking at Google Trends, it looks like in 2025, the popularity of property management related search terms like grew, right? And I do want to note that I compared these two keywords because they represent different ends of a buyer's journey. So someone searching for what is property management is probably earlier on in the journey, they're not familiar with it yet. And someone who is already searching for the best property manager has already traveled through most of the journey and is more ready to hire one, right? So if you notice, both of them started going up in 2025, but just the popularity of what is property management like exponentially grew. So what this means is people like owners are starting to discover property management, right? Like whereas in the past, maybe when they're having trouble with their property, professional property management doesn't even enter their mind, right? But nowadays they're searching for it more, which means they're being more educated, which also means when there is higher demand, there's higher competition. So expect higher competition for like more companies getting to the space because they see this is the opportunity. That also means you have to step up and make yourself stand out.
Yeah, thanks for interpreting that data to make it easier for us to understand, because I can see exactly what you're saying. People are searching less for what is property management, rather, they're searching for best property manager. Got it. And then the buying journey, as you were mentioning, is a psychological process. You want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, so nobody ever wakes up like searching for, best property manager near me, right? So typically they go through a series of steps before they get. I'm sorry, I'm getting sick, but um and so, like most of the time people first become aware of their problems. And then they go through this whole journey before they even think like, oh, the solution to my problem is professional property management, right? Because we'd like to think professional property management is the only solution that is obvious, but not to them. Like self-managing is an option. Having your uncle, your cousin manage it is an option. Or like they could just sell it. They're like, I just want to give up, right? And so I want us to think of the experience of the owners having versus like what's in it for us. It's like, well, what are they experiencing? I know Jay, like you also subscribe to like story brand way of like marketing, right? Like which is same for me. Like I love StoryBrand because it's all about narrative, and the hero of the story is the property owner, not your business, right? So, um, most sales funnels that I see out there are centered on your company. Like, oh, people are aware about you. That's awareness phase. Like, oh, people are like stalking you, right? But I want to flip it and be like, well, in that, like think about what the owner's experiencing at different levels of their life, of their journey as a landlord, and then find ways to insert yourself, not as kind of like the savior, but more of like, hey, here's some information that might help you kind of like fix that problem. Hey, yeah.
Most people would view this as awareness. They're aware of my company.
Mm-hmm.
Interest, they might be interested in doing business with us, but you're flipping the script, and I love that. Like, you're relating it to the owner's problems. They're aware they have a problem. They're
Mm-hmm.
interested in finding the solution to their problem, right? Like, it may be in your funnel, but it's still all about them.
Yeah, yeah. I wanna, yeah, I wanna highlight that it should be about the owner, right? And yeah, and when they're trying to narrow down their options, it's not just about property management companies. It can also be they're weighing you against self-management or just like giving up
Yeah.
and selling it completely, right? So if you have that in mind, then that will lead you to put out content or verbiage that makes the owner feel heard versus sold to. Um, and
Hmm.
so, like I don't want to spend any more time on the funnel because I feel like we need to move on. But, for the purposes of this webinar, I did want to focus on giving you information on how to get owners to find you, like you, and hire you, right? Because I feel like those are like the big buckets that we really want to get into. And so if you go to the next slide, so stage one is getting owners to find you, right? So we were talking about fundamentals earlier. There are so many things you can do to get owners to find you, but I wanted to talk about the bare minimum, right? So the bare minimum would be having a website with property management specific SEO. I spoke to a property manager, was it like earlier this year, and they were complaining that, hey, I got a new website and, they did SEO and I'm still not getting any owner leads for property management. And I pulled up his website and guess what? There is SEO on his website, but it's focused on real estate. So of course they're not getting found for property management because there is SEO, but it wasn't property management specific. So that's something that I want to convey is to pay attention to the kind of SEO that is like implemented on your website. And then the next one is proper schema markup. So this is basically code at the back end of your website that makes Google bots and all the AI search bots easily identify. It's kind of like a Spark Notes for these AI tools on like what the business is about. So instead of reading the entire website, proper schema markup can give them a Spark Notes version, so that immediately there's no confusion. Like, what industry are you in? What areas are you serving? And what services do you offer? And then you want to have content that answers real owner questions, right? So when owners are searching for those questions, you show up, right? And it's especially powerful if you're able to provide content that not just answers them, but provides like real world like stories of you kind of like fixing that for another owner, right? That's like another kind of like thing you can do to be viewed as more authoritative than the next guy. And then you also want to have verbiage that speaks to your target clients, right? So again, like you were saying, Jay, right? Like if you're wanting to target everyone, you're targeting no one, right? So get clarity on who your target client is and speak to them, speak to their specific pain points. And at the bare minimum, get a verify your Google My Business profile. And when you verify it, make sure you upload your logo. It's not pixelated, it's not stretched or scrunched. Upload high quality photos. And
That was on accident.
sorry. And then I did wanna mention that like paid ads, like Google Ads, Bing Ads, yes, you can use them to get owners to find you, but I didn't put that as a minimum requirement because it's one of those things that it's very case by case. So like for 4.5, we've been running owner targeted Google and Bing ad campaigns for like more than a decade, and we learned that results of a PPC campaign highly depend on your market, your competition, your monthly ads budget, and the seasonality, right? So if you take all those four factors into consideration and it still makes sense for you to do it, then great, do it. Because Google Ads is a really great way to capture owners who are close to a buying decision, right? And it's faster too because you're not waiting for the algorithms to pick up your content. Um, and in terms of, like getting owners to find you, you can actually go to the next slide. Yeah. So the reason there are like all these things you need to do to get owners to find you is because owners don't travel through the buying journey in a linear way. Like they keep going up and down the first three stages, right? Like they start researching, they forget about it, right? And then they pick it up again the next time there's a pain point that gets picked up, right? So if an owner keeps encountering your brand as they keep traveling through the awareness, interest, decision, and back again to awareness, then the more top of mind you become, right? So, in the awareness stage, maybe they're just realizing that managing the rental is harder than they thought, right? So maybe they're searching for things like, is being a landlord worth it? Like, can I evict my tenant without a lawyer? Like what happens if my tenant stops paying rent? Like all these are questions that someone online is going to answer. So why not you, right? Because you're the expert in your market. And then in the interstage, they're open to getting help, but they're not quite sure what the best solution is. Maybe they're still seeing if they can wing DIY. Maybe if they just educate themselves enough, they can do it themselves. And so maybe they're searching for things like best way to handle late payments, or, you know, you know, maybe they discovered property management and are searching for, should I hire a property manager or still do it myself, right? And then once they're in the decision phase, they're trying to like narrow down their options and create a short list. So that's when you see some searches like, the best property manager in my city, or comparing company A versus company B, looking at their reviews, or looking for lists like top 10 property management companies near me. And so if you're able to show up every time, like, as the owner vacillates between these, if your brand is always showing up, well, guess what? Like, you immediately get trusted more than the ones that are not showing up consistently, right? And so that's why it's important to make sure that, like you're showing up in the map pack using your Google My Business page. If you're running Google Ads, that's also great. And then your blogs, your content, videos, right? I think a marketer coined like search everywhere, kind of like everyone is using everything online to get information, to search for answers. And so if you're everywhere, then they're more likely to encounter you more times. I think later on I have a slide about like the number of touch points it typically takes for a sale.
It's hard for everybody to be everywhere. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of people aren't anywhere right
I
now.
know. So that's why I said like focus on the fundamentals, and then once you have the fundamentals, then you build on it, because it's overwhelming if you try to be everywhere right now. But take it as like, okay, I can start with the fundamentals, and then what can I do that's realistic, that
So
is,
we'll have something we'll be able
yeah.
to give to everybody that's saying like, look, this is what you need to do rather than this, this big picture situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so once an owner has found you, right? Now you have to get an owner to like you. And getting someone to like you is easier said than done. So very subjective.
It's like
And
when I first met my wife, I met her at a bar and like, yeah, I found her, but now I had to get her to like me. I had to actually have personality, or at least fake it until like, until I had her on the hook.
and it's a really good analogy, which I also use. It's kind of like, in sales and marketing, it's like courting them, right? Like you don't ask them to marry you like shortly after like a 5 minute conversation. Like you have to make sure that you give them enough to start like getting to like you, and then eventually trusting you. And it doesn't happen overnight. So it's like unrealistic for businesses to expect someone who like interacts with one blog from your website to immediately trust you and hire you, right? So I put here,
We've done the
yeah,
work, and then we get impatient, right?
yeah,
Because, we've done the work, we want to see results, but at the same time, we have to build that level of trust, and that level of trust doesn't come like just from one interaction.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's different types of interactions, right? So I put here things you can focus on to get owners to like you, right? So if you come up with a compelling promise, um, of course, like that instantly is like, okay, that's a really good promise, but you need to make sure you deliver on them, and you can explain how you can deliver on them, right? So like in your taglines, instead of just saying we do property management, like try to insert like, well, what's the promise? Like not just what you do, but like what can you do for me? What the end result would be. If you can share case studies, or metrics, that also kind of like provides like support to the promise. And then you talking through your processes, your procedures, best practices that you've seen in your area can also kind of provide support to your promises, right? And then with social proof, so this is where your online reviews show up, but not just the reviews, also your responses to reviews, right? So like I see a lot of property management companies, like the first hunch is starting to get positive reviews, but then,
I get I
oh,
gotta move
oh
us
sorry.
through. That's right. But social proofing, like they have to know you, they have to trust you. Compelling promise, like,
Mhm.
you can go and look at a hammer in a hardware store. That's fantastic. But what's the hammer going to do? Like,
Mhm.
how is it going to help you? How's it going to reduce the amount of time? Like, it's got to be compelling. It can't just be, this is what we do. We manage properties. Okay, well, make that more compelling. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did quickly want to share like the EEAT criteria for assessing quality online, quality of your content. Um, to like pay attention to that. You don't just like write whatever is interesting to you. Like it has to showcase, it has to satisfy the EEAT. And then getting owners from liking you to hiring you is about trying to remove the risks that are in their heads and then showing proof that you can actually deliver results, right? And so they're going to give you their biggest asset. You need to make it feel easy to trust you. And so, if you are able to show, for example, your pricing, I know that can be polarizing, but guess what? Like, if you're the only person in your market that shows pricing on the website, imagine if an owner was searching for a property manager. Doesn't it look really good if a property manager just shows their pricing versus whenever pricing is hidden, it feels like, oh, maybe it's so expensive that they're afraid to show their pricing.
And when
Um,
someone comes to you in that respect, right, and they've already
mhm.
seen your pricing, then it's a higher quality lead. Like they've already passed
Yes.
that.
Yes, exactly. They like self-select. And then you can move on to the next slide. I know you want to be careful of time. And so some things that you can do to further make it easy for owners to hire you is to have like clear calls to action, right? Like don't just say like learn more, like make it an action, like download something that will be valuable to them. Like book a call, right? Or sometimes people use like a free rental analysis, right? Like I literally have a client who had a free rental analysis lead that came in March this year, and I checked their CRM, and like this lead dropped off, ghosted them. My client put it into like a nurturing campaign, a drip campaign, and then they just closed them end of September. It's like imagine if there was like no follow up. So I see here call to action, fast response, follow up, lead nurturing. Imagine if like they weren't following up, they were just like, hey, they ghosted me. Like that's a lost lead. They wouldn't have been able to close them in September. And so much like what you were saying, Jay, right? Like it's like a courtship, right? Like everyone has their own time. Maybe someone who's been reading all your content for a year is ready to sign with you after filling out a form. Great. But not everyone's going to be like that. And so keep working on them. Like, until they say like stop contacting me or like I'm not interested, like I'd say it's fair to continue following up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is, right? But it depends because, it depends on what's automated and what's not. So
Mm,
if you're making follow-up calls, and I learned a long time ago that I need to have the right balance of what's going to be an email, what's going to be a phone call, what's going to be a text message. Because if I'm taking time out of my day, then I'm letting all of the leads that might be bad leads, I'm letting those get in the way of what the actual good leads are. And many times, what I find from coaching people that are trying to grow their business is that they think that they need more leads coming in, when
mhm.
actually they just need to do a better job of following up and implementing nurture campaigns. So, like you were saying before, Marie, when we were talking about something, you said it depends. It certainly depends on, where you are in your business and what you need to focus on next.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, leveraging automation does make this like work. Like just because it's automated doesn't mean like, it doesn't work. Um and yeah, where are we? Yeah, so like
The
we were saying,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to have sequences that are not ready and yeah, human connection. So sprinkle in calls. Like it doesn't mean follow up like you're it's always a call, it's always a text. Like we like to recommend clients do kind of like this staggered approach where there are some calls spread out, and then the longer the time period, the more spread out they are. But the emails, you can automate them. You can use merge tags to make them sound personable and sound like you. You can use AI to copy your voice. Like it's not as daunting as it once was, where you had to create everything from scratch. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, I highly recommend. We did a we have a workshop coming up next week, but we also did one yesterday where I created one master prompt, and that master prompt, the people who were on the call, they copied and pasted that into their AI, most of them using ChatGPT. Cool, right? Thumbs up. And that walked them through the steps of creating their own follow-up nurture campaigns in their voice, not
mhm,
sending emails that say, I hope this email finds you well, right?
mhm.
Note that's probably came from an AI, but like you don't, it doesn't, this doesn't have to take you as long as it used to. You can do
Mhm.
these things on your own much quicker.
Yeah. And I think we can move on to the next slide. Yeah, so kind of like in the same thread of like having a follow through process or sequence, right? And like nurturing the leads, like having a drip campaign, right? So so according to recent data, um, there are kind of like average touch points needed per sale, and each industry is different, right? So no, what came out of this at the very bottom, if you see real estate services, like 28.97. So like that's the average number of touch points needed per sale in a real estate service transaction. And so if you think about it, real estate is like less demanding, so to speak, in terms of commitment, because it's like a one-off thing. Like you sell the property or you buy a property, done. Property management is a lot more involved, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna hand over the keys. It's potentially like a multi-year commitment. Like, am I making the right decision? So can you imagine if it takes an average of 28, 20, almost 29 touch points to have one real estate like sale? Can you imagine how much more is needed to pacify an owner who's about to hand over to you maybe their entire retirement? Like that's their retirement, the investment property.
Yeah.
And so it just supports this notion that you need to be doing the follow-ups. And when I say touch points, it's not just like the follow-ups, the phone calls, text messages. It's everything that they encounter related to your brand. So this includes videos, ads, like citations whenever they search for answers on AI or Google AI overviews, like all that cumulative, it takes an average of more than 29 touch points for them to feel comfortable enough to, like hire you and sign an agreement. So like it seems like a lot, but if you think of like the vast amount of information that's out there on the internet, we consume way more than, you think you do.
And I'm thinking, hey guys, we might be in the wrong business because I'm right up there with you. Like we're between consulting services and training and development services. So like maybe an average of 23, 24 touch points. Maybe we should all just sell our businesses and go into janitorial and cleaning. Like it'd be a hell
Yeah,
of a lot easier, wouldn't it?
I know. Yeah, if that's your style, right? Maybe you add that as an, ancillary service.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like
Where does AI fit in here?
yeah, where does AI fit in? Like that is the big question, right? And so, like earlier we talked about how it's no longer, like going online, searching for a search term, and then you see a set of blue links and you have to go and click each one and kind of assess, is this trustworthy? The AI tools just make those decisions for you of who's credible, and not just who's credible, but like which phrase or paragraph or table from this website and this page do I think is credible enough to answer your question, right? So it's like so many of the steps that you normally would take is taken care of for you, and it's mostly instant, right? And so um I kind of want to give a context of like how AI reads content, right? So um AI search tools are kind of lazy. The way they read your website, it's not like they read every single word, right? Like earlier I mentioned schema markup. they check that first, like what's the spark notes of this website like, and then if they feel like, okay, given the spark notes, I think this website might have the information that this, user, this owner is asking for, then that's when they decide to go into your pages. And within your pages, they don't read every single word right away. They scan the headlines, kind of like how we humans would read a newspaper. We don't read from top to bottom every single page. We're like, scan the headline, something's interesting, let's read like the article, the column. So that's similar to how they look at your website. So you want to have like a good heading structure that is logical, that it is easy to follow, so that, because again, like when they're trying to surface answers, they only have seconds, right? So you need to make it easy for the AI to identify which line on your page contains that answer. And then,
So that sounds even more relevant today than it
yeah.
used to be because of the speed in which AI needs to operate, and having that more readable, like with the right headings and,
Mhm.
the TLDR, too long did not read, the short version, that kind of stuff you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Because also it takes more compute power to spend more time on a website, and then they have to compare websites, right?
I was gonna say that too, because it's also very expensive for the new, what do they call it? All of these uh
LLMs.
no, but the actual like server
Oh
like
yeah,
farms that are being built right now.
yeah. It's insane, right? Like it's expensive, and then not just
The
like
energy.
running them, the energy, cooling them is expensive
Yeah.
because they get overworked, they heat up, So yeah, like they're finding shortcuts to not use as much compute, right? So again, it's like it's our jobs to make it super clear and super easy for them to get the information they need so that they can then cite our website. Um, and like yeah. So
Looks like Google's going down here. Google's going to be taken down. DuckDuckGo's has some market share.
yeah, yeah. And so I wanted to include this because in light of, trying to chase the next shiny thing, like it without this graph, you would think like, oh, I should drop everything and just focus on like AI search visibility. But I have 2 points about that. First is, yes, ChatGPT popularity is gaining like really, really quickly, but in terms of overall search market share, it's so minuscule compared to market share of Google. Like I was on a call 2 weeks ago and I was talking about Bing, and they were like, no one uses Bing. Everyone chooses ChatGPT. And I'm like, well, more people actually use Bing than ChatGPT right now. So just because it's not hot and sexy doesn't mean customers are not there, right? So to like not kind of like look at the big picture. Um, and then one point I did want to add was, is it on the next slide?
Oh,
Sorry.
let's see. I
Okay. Yeah, so let's
mean,
actually jump to
I
like
got
a
the
real life example.
I got the trigger finger. We're gonna go through this real life example and before and after in 4 minutes. So I'm
Yes.
testing you.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah. So when you're looking at a website, think of like the top three questions, because these are the top three questions that the AI bots are also asking. Like, what does this company do? Where do they do it? And will you solve the query? Will you answer the query? Right? So like this is a website that we took over before. This is what their website looked like. It screams just like tennis. Like if you're an owner landing on this, it doesn't really say anything about what they do for owners. It's all about tenants, right? And if you go to the next slide, right? And if you scroll lower, like it doesn't even mention kind of like where they do business. Like you have to go to the very bottom and see, oh, their address says Monroe, Washington. So they manage in Monroe, Washington. But then do they only manage in Monroe, Washington? Like what other cities do they manage in? It's not there. If you're the AI bot, you're going to move on because it's like, well, this person is not in Monroe. It's in a neighboring city, but I don't want to risk with this company because I don't know for sure, right? So you start to think of like how they see it and how we can kind of like fix that. So if you go to the next slide, so what we did was we kind of like off the bat just try to answer those questions. Like, what do they do? Well, it's property management. Where do they do it? In King County, Washington. It's a professional property management company, right? Not like a coaching for property management. You know, will you solve the property owner's problems, right? So, best rental experience. You're talking about a boutique real estate firm. They mention not just Monroe, but the other neighboring cities, right? And then if you go to the next slide, it shows kind of like what shows up as you scroll, right? So they're not just talking about like, okay, we're professional property managers, we are customized, and this is what we can do for you, right? We increase your earnings, decrease expenses, protect your property, right? If I'm an owner, like, oh, that's my end state, right? I have more earnings, less expenses, and my property is protected. Like instant trust. But also to the AI, it's like, oh, that's what they do to the owner. They're trustworthy versus like pay rent, submit maintenance, right? And then if you
It's
go,
it's the
yeah,
difference between what we would typically look at of features versus benefits, right? How does this
exactly.
benefit them? How does this get to them to their result? How does this solve their problem,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. And then, further in the website, right? Like you have this kind of like social proof. So you're featuring real people behind the brand, not just stock photos. So that is good for the human beings, but also for the AI search bots. They can tell when your photos are stock photos, right? You can do reverse image search and identify if things are stock photos. So that's a good social signal. Their language speaks to their ideal client, right? They are speaking to investors. Investors value relationship, and there's even a video of the owner kind of like highlighting what's unique about them, right? And it's a video, it's a person, so like again, instant trust. And it's if their competitors don't have these things, then they look better to the AI and they're more likely to be recommended.
Is
Um,
that a real photo in the top left?
yeah, those are the founders. The the one in pink is Tracy, and the one with the white pants is Catherine. They're the founders of the company.
Cool, cool.
Um, yeah.
It was just a random question.
No, no, no. But yeah, it's like you don't see that often, right? Like most of the time, it's like random tenants in the properties handing keys, whatever. So like that
Yeah.
one cuts through the noise, and then kind of like adding to the trust signals. So we added this section, this map on their website, and like for a person looking at this, you're familiar with your area, so you can identify like, oh, my property is there. There's no doubt they can manage my property. But also to the AI, this is a full list of their main target cities. There's no doubt like if an owner from Sultan is like, I want to look for a property manager who's managing in Sultan, like AI is like, okay, Sultan's listed here. I'll recommend them. Versus if they have to guess, like they're in Monroe, does that include Sultan? I don't know, right? And so at the bottom, you also have affiliations, and having these affiliations is more to show kind of like that you have the seal of approval from real world reputable organizations. So you have like NARPM and then like local apartment and real estate affiliations. So those are also kind of like trust signals. And then the strongest trust signal and social proof are your reviews, right? So I see property management companies sometimes just embed like static testimonials, and it's so hard to know like are they real. But having something like this where it automatically feeds the most recent reviews, if you can show that you're responding to reviews, it also shows that you're on top of things. Also shows to the AI bots that you are engaging with your audience, right? So that can also help you rank higher on local maps, right? That's one of the many things they look at. And yeah, like responding to all the reviews helps. Yeah. And then I didn't want to take screenshots of like all these things, but other things that this client does that bridges the trust gap. So they have an owner page that speaks to the narrative of the owner, which, like again, when Google tries to surface content, they don't rank the website. They don't cite the website. They cite a specific page, often a specific paragraph. And so when you have at least one page that's speaking to your service area, to the journey of the owner, you're more likely to be cited for that, right? So like the homepage, it has SEO content, but then also create pages that speak to the pain points of your customers and don't just focus on like ranking for the location keywords, property managed in my area. And this client also has pricing on their website, and their form fill outs import to their CRM directly, and that enables them to respond very quickly, right? So that's another thing. Is like if you see your responsive property manager and they fill out a form and you don't get back to them in like the same business day, that doesn't sound credible to me,
Yeah.
right?
Let me we have to wrap it up in
Oh,
time, but just to kind of circle around to what we've been talking about today is know, like, and hire. These are the three key things that that we spoke about. This directly relates to the way I look at it: attract, build trust, right? And then convert. So the ABCs: attract, build, and convert. And in order to do that, to attract people, right, you have to focus on solving their pain points, solving their problems, right? Like making them they're aware of their problems, and then you're speaking to their problems. We looked at the different ways that they can trust you, and then following up, the follow-up campaigns and why it's important to have those. Just to circle around to the last two slides here, guys, and thanks for hanging in there. I know that we went over time. We really appreciate you guys' time. We have Jessica Foster and I, we both spoke at NARPM National on growth and on referral systems. We're doing a workshop. I'll send you an invite for that. That's going to be next week. And that will, we're going to do a live 1-hour workshop where we're actually going through and creating a referral system together. You'll be able to walk away with that. So that's super exciting. It's a different way to grow than in marketing and website that we're talking about today. And also get out your phones, scan the QR code, get your free marketing assessment from 4.5. So I'll let you guys do that and keep that up. And thank you, Marie, so much for sharing your knowledge, and putting all of this together for us so that we can be equipped, right? Knowledge is power,
yeah.
but
Thank you
action is
so
powerful.
much. Yeah, thank you so much to everyone. Apologize for my long-winded answers. But yeah, thank you
You,
for the time, Jay,
you,
and
you're
for everyone taking time out of your day.
You're great, Marie. Always over delivering, and really some great content. Honestly, if we could have went for an hour and a half, this would have been great content. We had just about 98% of people stick to the end. So that's how we know that this is really great content. So thank you so much. We
Yeah,
appreciate you.
great. Thank you.
And thank you guys. Add more doors if you need to. And if you don't, stabilize some systems, have the right team in place, right? Work on your profitability, whatever the things are, but go carry on, enjoy the rest of your week, make some money, and all the good things in the world. Bye now.
Bye.
See you.